The sky above Montana was clear and blue when the signal came. John Carter was drinking his morning coffee in the United Earth Defense Force headquarters when alarms began to sound. He spilled coffee on his uniform as he jumped up and rushed to the command center. "What's happening?" John asked as he entered the room filled with glowing screens and busy officers. Lisa Morgan, the head scientist, pointed to the main screen. "We picked up something from deep space. It's not random. It's a message." The year was 2045. Humanity had advanced its technology greatly in the last decades, but they had never found proof of aliens. Until today. "How far away?" John asked, his heart beating faster. "About 3 light years and moving toward us." "Daniel Wright," another scientist answered. He pushed his glasses up his nose and tapped on his screen. "The computer is working on translating it now." President Olivia Russell was called immediately. Within hours, she arrived at the headquarters along with leaders from other major countries. They gathered in the large meeting room, faces serious and worried. Lisa stood up and showed them what they had learned. "The message is from something calling itself the Zexer Imperium. They say Earth is in their expansion territory, and they want our resources." The room fell silent. Then President Russell asked, "Are they asking or telling?" "Telling," Daniel replied. "They demand our surrender. They don't seem interested in talking." General Christopher Lee, a tall man with gray hair, spoke next. "Do we know their capabilities? Their weapons?" "Not exactly," Lisa said. "But the message was sent with technology far beyond ours. They must be advanced." President Russell turned to her advisors. "What are our options?" "We should try to talk to them," suggested Alan Peterson, a diplomat known for solving tough problems. "Show them we are peaceful, but also that we have dignity." "And if they don't want to talk?" asked Frank Daniels, a military advisor. No one answered at first. Then John spoke up. "We have Operation Horizon, Madam President." Several people looked confused. Operation Horizon was top secret. Only 5 people in the room knew what it really was. President Russell nodded slowly. "Let's hope we don't need it. First, we try diplomacy." The team worked day and night to craft a response. They sent a message back. "We come in peace, but will defend ourselves if threatened. We welcome friendly contact with your civilization." 3 days passed with no response. People around the world began to notice something was happening. News of the alien contact leaked, and some people panicked while others didn't believe it. Then the reply came. Lisa rushed into John's office, her face pale. "We got an answer." They gathered again in the command center. Daniel read the message out loud. "Primitive species have no negotiation rights. Prepare for inspection and resource evaluation." "What does that mean?" President Russell asked. "It means they don't see us as equals," Alan explained. "They think we're like animals to them." "When will they arrive?" General Lee asked. Lisa checked her data. "At their current speed, 48 hours. President Russell stood up, her face determined. "Send another message. Make it clear that we don't accept their terms and that we will defend our planet." John knew what might come next. He had helped develop Operation Horizon 10 years ago. He hoped they wouldn't need to use it, but he also knew that humanity wasn't as defenseless as the Zexer thought. "And if they ignore our warning?" Frank asked. President Russell looked around the room. "Then they'll learn that appearances can be deceiving." Outside, the sky was still blue. People went about their daily lives, not knowing that in 2 days, everything might change forever. 10 years earlier, in 2035, Susan Cole was working late in her lab at MIT. Rain tapped against the windows as she stared at her computer screen. She had been studying quantum physics for years, searching for new energy sources. That night, something unexpected happened. Her experiment showed energy readings that made no sense. At first, she thought her equipment was broken. She checked everything twice and ran the test again. The results were the same. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. According to her data, She had found a way to pull energy from what seemed like nowhere. It was like tapping into the very fabric of space. Susan didn't sleep that night. By morning, she knew she had discovered something huge, something that could change the world. She called her old friend, Frank Daniels, who worked for the military. "Frank, I need to show you something, but you can't tell anyone yet," she said. 3 days later, Frank visited her lab. Susan showed him her discovery. Frank was quiet for a long time after her demonstration. "Do you understand what this means?" he finally asked. Susan nodded. "It could solve the world's energy problems." "It's more than that," Frank said. "In the wrong hands, this could be a weapon more powerful than anything we've ever seen." Within a week, Susan was meeting with government officials. They agreed her discovery was too important and too dangerous to be made public. They also agreed it could be Earth's best defense if ever needed. President Russell, newly elected that year, created a special group. They called it Operation Horizon. Their job was to develop Susan's discovery into both an energy source and a defense system. The project was top secret. Even most world leaders didn't know all the details. For 5 years, Susan worked with the best scientists from around the world. They built a network of satellites that looked ordinary from the outside. The public was told they were for better internet and phone service. In truth, they were something much more powerful. Each satellite can collect solar energy, Susan explained to President Russell during a private meeting. But that's just the beginning. The energy can be focused into a beam strong enough to cut through almost anything. "Like a space laser?" the president asked. "Much more powerful," Susan said, "and much more precise." John Carter joined the project in its 3rd year. He was a captain then, young but smart. He helped design the control systems. "The whole network can be activated with one command," he explained during a test. "But it needs multiple people to agree before it works. No one person can turn it on alone." By 2040, Operation Horizon was complete. 50 satellites circled the Earth, disguised as ordinary communication equipment. They could power whole cities with clean energy, or if needed, they could be the most powerful weapons humans had ever built. Only 5 people knew the full truth: President Russell, Frank Daniels, Susan Cole, John Carter, and General Lee. They hoped they would never need to use the satellites as weapons. Life went on. The world faced usual problems: climate change, political arguments, economic ups and downs. No one knew that high above them, a shield was waiting. A shield built from a discovery made on a rainy night by a scientist who couldn't sleep. Now, in 2045, as the Xexer ships moved toward Earth, Susan sat in a secure room deep underground. She looked at the control panel in front of her. Her hands shook slightly. "I never wanted it to be used this way," she said to John, who stood beside her. "I know," he replied, "but we might not have a choice." On screens around them, they could see simulations of the approaching alien fleet. Countdown timers showed 36 hours until arrival. "Will it work?" President Russell asked from the doorway. Susan looked up. "It will work. The question is whether we'll need to use it." Alan Peterson had spent his life solving problems with words, not weapons. As he walked into the communication room, he wondered if his skills would be enough this time. The room was filled with advanced equipment, installed just for this moment. "Ambassador Peterson, everything is ready," said Patricia Adams, the communications officer. Her voice was steady, but Alan noticed her hands trembling. "Thank you," he said. He straightened his tie and took a deep breath. "Let's try one more time." President Russell and General Lee stood behind him. They had agreed to make one final attempt at peace before the Xexer fleet arrived. The countdown on the wall showed 24 hours left. William Garcia, the chief science officer, adjusted some settings on the main console. "We're using quantum communication now. It's faster than radio waves. They should hear you immediately." Ellen nodded and began to speak into the microphone. This is Ambassador Alan Peterson of Earth. I address the commander of the Zexer fleet directly. We ask you to reconsider your approach. Earth is not defenseless. We have technology you may not have detected. We do not want conflict, but we will protect our home. There is another way. We can talk. We can find solutions that benefit both our peoples. For a moment, there was silence. Then the screen lit up with an image. It showed a creature that looked nothing like a human. Its skin was bluish-gray. It had 4 eyes and no visible nose. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the computer. I am Commander Krazak of the Zexer Imperium. Your words amuse me, human. Many species have claimed to be strong before we took their worlds. None were telling the truth. Alan tried again. Commander, war benefits neither of us. Surely. The alien interrupted with a sound that might have been laughter. Your primitive species shows foolish bravado. It will not save you. We have conquered worlds far more advanced than yours. Prepare for our arrival. End communication. The screen went dark. Alan turned to face the others. I failed, he said simply. No, President Russell replied. You gave them a chance. They chose not to take it. General Lee was already on his phone. Begin global evacuation to the shelters, he ordered. All military personnel to combat stations. William checked his instruments. The Zexer fleet is speeding up. New arrival time is 18 hours. They're eager, General Lee said grimly. President Russell turned to her aide. Get me Dr. Sanders immediately. Tell her to prepare Operation Horizon for activation. Across the world, people began moving to underground shelters. They had been built years ago, supposedly for climate emergencies. Now their real purpose became clear. The news showed pictures of the alien ships, visible through powerful telescopes. Parents held their children close. Some people prayed. Others just waited quietly. In the command center, Nicole Sanders worked with her team to check every part of the Horizon network. Each satellite had to be perfect. One mistake could mean the end of everything. Power levels optimal, reported Eric Tanner, who monitored the system. All 50 platforms responding. Nicole nodded, but didn't celebrate. Keep checking. We only get one chance at this. John Carter entered the room with Susan Cole. They both looked tired but determined. The president wants hourly updates, John said. How are we doing? The system is ready, Nicole answered. But the Zexer ships have strong shields, according to our scans. We're not sure if Horizon can break through. Susan stepped forward to look at the technical readouts. After a moment, she pointed to something on the screen. Adjust the frequency here and here, she said. If my theory is correct, it should bypass their shield harmonics. Will it work? John asked. Susan met his eyes. It has to. Outside, the sky began to darken as evening approached. In 18 hours, it would either be a new dawn for humanity or the beginning of the end. Everything depended on whether the Zexer would heed Earth's final warning. The sky changed color first. It was early morning when strange lights appeared above major cities. Then they came into view, massive ships that blocked the sun. People who had not yet reached shelters stopped and stared up in fear and wonder. In the UEDF headquarters, Lieutenant Eric Tanner watched his radar screen as over 300 alien ships entered Earth's orbit. They're here, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Around him, the command center was quiet despite dozens of people working at their stations. Everyone moved with purpose, but also with fear. This was the moment they had trained for, but nothing could truly prepare them for first contact with a hostile alien force. John Carter stood beside President Russell as they watched the main screen showing the Zexer fleet positioning itself around Earth. Their main ship is directly above Washington, D.C., said Patricia Adams, who monitored communications. The others are spreading out to cover major population centers. Any attempt to communicate? President Russell asked. No, Mom. There. Wait. Patricia pressed her hand to her earpiece. We're receiving a transmission now. The main screen changed to show Commander Krozak. The alien looked even more intimidating than before. Behind him, other Zexer moved around what appeared to be the bridge of their ship. "People of Earth," the alien said, "your world is now under Zexer control. Surrender immediately, and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and we will make examples of your cities one by one." President Russell stepped forward. Her face showed no fear as she replied, "Commander Krozak, this is President Olivia Russell of the United Earth Government. We have warned you once already. Earth is not defenseless. We ask one final time. Withdraw your fleet, and we can discuss peaceful relations." The alien commander made that strange laughing sound again. "Your bravery is pointless. To demonstrate our power, we will now destroy a small target." The screen split to show a view of a small island in the Pacific Ocean. Before anyone could speak, a beam of light shot down from one of the Zexer ships. The island exploded in fire and smoke. It was gone in seconds. Gasps filled the command center. Patricia covered her mouth with her hand. Eric Tanner swore quietly. "That was Henderson Island," William Garcia said, his voice shaking. "Population, 0. They deliberately chose an unoccupied target." "A warning shot," General Lee said grimly. Krozak's face filled the screen again. "The next target will be your city of Manila. Population, 20 million. You have 10 minutes to surrender." The screen went dark. President Russell turned to face her advisors. "They've made their choice," she said. Her voice was sad but firm. "General Lee, begin Operation Horizon." General Lee picked up a secure phone. "This is General Lee. Authorization code, Eagle Shadow Delta 9. Activate Horizon. Repeat. Activate Horizon." In the control room below, Nicole Sanders received the order. She looked at Susan Cole, who nodded once. "It's time," Nicole said to her team. She opened a sealed case and removed a special key. Susan did the same with a second key. They both walked to the main console and inserted their keys into slots on opposite sides. "On my mark," Nicole said. 3, 2, 1, turn." They turned their keys simultaneously. Lights changed from red to green across the control panel. "Horizon is active," Nicole announced. "Satellites repositioning now." High above Earth, 50 ordinary-looking communication satellites began to change. Hidden panels opened, revealing advanced technology that had been concealed for years. They turned slowly, aligning themselves to face the Zexer fleet. On the main screen in the command center, President Russell watched as the alien ships continued to move into position, unaware of what was happening. "How long until the system is fully charged?" she asked. 90 seconds, John Carter replied. "And how long until they target Manila?" John checked the countdown. 7 minutes. President Russell nodded. "Then we have time." She turned to Patricia. "Open a channel to Krozak. One last warning." Commander Krozak's face appeared on the screen again. He looked annoyed at the interruption. "Your time for surrender has not yet elapsed," he said. "Do not waste my time unless you are ready to accept your fate." President Russell stood tall. Her voice was calm but firm. "This is not a surrender. This is your final warning. Your scans may have missed our defensive capabilities. If you do not leave Earth's orbit immediately, we will have no choice but to defend ourselves." Krozak made a gesture that might have been the alien equivalent of rolling eyes. "Your primitive scanning technology detected our arrival months ago. Do you think our superior technology would miss anything of importance on your world?" "Not everything is as it appears," President Russell replied. "Enough." Krozak slammed something that looked like a fist onto a surface. "Your time is now reduced to 5 minutes. End transmission." The screen went dark again. President Russell turned to John Carter. "Status of Horizon. Fully charged in 30 seconds, John replied. Colonel Joseph Brown, who had been quiet until now, pointed at another screen. "Madam President, look. The Zexar are detecting something." On the monitor, they could see the alien ships changing position slightly. Energy readings from the fleet showed they were scanning Earth more intensely. They'd noticed the satellites moving. William Garcia said, "They're trying to figure out what's happening." In the control room, Martha Kelly watched the countdown timer. "Energy levels at 90%, she announced. "All platforms aligned and ready." Nicol Sanders nodded. "Begin final targeting sequence." Above Earth, the 50 satellites locked onto the Zexer ships. Each one targeted multiple vessels in the alien fleet. The satellites drew in solar energy at rates never before achieved by human technology. Back on the Zexer command ship, alarms began to sound. A junior officer approached Commander Krazak. "Commander, we are detecting energy spikes from the planet's orbit," the officer reported. Krazak waved dismissively. "They're primitive scanning technology, nothing more." "But sir, the energy readings err." "I said it's nothing." Krazak interrupted. "Prepare the weapons. Target their city. Let's see how brave their leader is when millions die." In the UEDF command center, everyone watched the main screen in tense silence. "Horizon at full power," John announced. "Awaiting your command, Madam President." President Russell closed her eyes for a brief moment. When she opened them, her resolve was clear. "Execute." John relayed the command to Nicole. "Activate Horizon. Now." In the control room, Nicole pressed her palm against the final authorization scanner. "Firing sequence initiated," she said. Susan Cole, standing beside her, whispered, "May God forgive us." High above Earth, all 50 satellites fired simultaneously. Intense beams of energy, invisible to the naked eye, but more powerful than anything humans had created before, shot toward the Zexer fleet. The alien ships had shields designed to withstand conventional weapons, missiles, lasers, even nuclear explosions. But Operation Horizon was different. It didn't just hit the shields, it passed through them, as if they weren't there. The first Zexer ship exploded silently in the vacuum of space. Then another, and another. In the command center, everyone watched in awe and horror as the alien fleet began to disintegrate. "It's working," Eric Tanner said. His voice was a mix of relief and shock. On his monitor, Joseph Brown counted the seconds. 10 seconds since firing began. 30% of their fleet is gone. "The remaining ships are trying to raise different shields," William reported. "They're adapting, but too slowly." 20 seconds, Joseph continued counting. 55% destroyed. Patricia Adams suddenly straightened in her chair. "We're receiving a transmission from Commander Krazak." "Ignore it," General Lee said. President Russell shook her head. "No, put him through." The screen showed Krazak's command bridge, now filled with smoke and flashing lights. The alien commander's face showed something humans could recognize even across species: fear. "What is this?" Krazak demanded. "How are you?" 30 seconds, Joseph announced. 78% of the fleet destroyed. "We warned you," President Russell said simply. "You chose not to listen." The remaining Zexer ships started to turn away from Earth. Their engines glowed bright blue as they tried to escape. But Operation Horizon was still active, still firing. 37 seconds since firing began, Joseph announced. 85% of the fleet destroyed. On the screen, they could see Commander Krazak shouting orders to his crew. Smoke filled his bridge. Lights flickered on and off. "What is this weapon?" he demanded, looking at President Russell through the video link. "No Level 3 civilization should have this technology." President Russell didn't answer his question. Instead, she asked one of her own. "Will you withdraw your remaining ships now, Commander?" Krazak's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "You've made your point. Call off your attack." "General Lee." President Russell turned to her military advisor. General Lee studied the tactical screens. About 45 ships are still intact. Most are trying to leave orbit. "Dr. Sanders," President Russell spoke through the communication system to the control room. "Can you target only the ships that aren't retreating?" "Yes, Madam President," Nicol replied. Her fingers moved quickly over the control panel, adjusting targeting parameters now. The beams from some of the satellites stopped firing. Others continued to hit the Zexer ships that were still in attack positions. Commander Krazak, President Russell addressed the alien again. "We will allow your retreating vessels to leave. Those that remain in attack position will be destroyed. Choose now." Krazak's face showed a mix of rage and fear. He barked orders in his own language. On the tactical screens, all remaining Zexer ships began to turn away from Earth. "They're all retreating," William confirmed. "Cease fire," President Russell ordered. Nickel entered the command, and the satellites stopped firing. The energy beams disappeared. In space, the remaining Zexer ships accelerated away from Earth. "They're entering faster than light travel," William said. "They're gone." A cheer erupted in the command center. People hugged each other. Some cried with relief. Earth had won its first interstellar war. But President Russell didn't celebrate. She turned to John Carter. "We need to capture one of their damaged ships if possible. We need to know more about them." John nodded. "I have a team ready, Madam President. We detected a damaged cruiser that fell into orbit around the moon. Its power systems are failing, but the ship appears mostly intact." "Go," she ordered. Within the hour, John was aboard a space shuttle with a team of UEDF soldiers and scientists. They approached the damaged Zexer ship carefully. It drifted silently, dark except for a few flickering lights. "No signs of weapons charging," reported the pilot. "Their systems appear to be in emergency mode." John looked at the alien vessel through the shuttle window. It was huge, at least 10 times larger than their shuttle. Its hull was covered in strange markings and technology Earth had never seen before. "Take us in," he ordered. "Prepare boarding equipment." As they moved closer, they could see the damage caused by Operation Horizon. A large section of the ship's side was simply gone. The edges melted and twisted, yet somehow the ship had survived. "Life signs?" John asked. A scientist checked her scanner. "Yes, but faint. I think most of the crew is dead." John felt no joy at this news, only sadness that it had come to this. "Our mission is to secure the ship and capture any survivors for questioning. We need information." The shuttle docked with the alien vessel. The team put on spacesuits with built-in weapons. They prepared to enter the Zexer ship. "Remember," John told them, "we're not here for revenge. We're here to learn. These aliens may be the first we've encountered, but they won't be the last. We need to understand what we're facing out there." The airlock opened, and they entered the dark corridors of the alien ship. Strange smells filled their suits' sensors. The gravity was lighter than Earth's. Everything was built for beings larger than humans. They moved forward carefully, weapons ready. Around a corner, they found their first Zexer body. It was even more alien up close. "Over here," called a scientist. "This one's still alive." John approached the injured alien. It looked up at him with 4 eyes full of fear and hatred. "My name is Captain John Carter," he said, though he knew the alien couldn't understand him without a translator. "Welcome to Earth." News of the Zexer defeat spread quickly across the galaxy. In a star system 12 light-years from Earth, members of the Aldarian Alliance received the reports with great interest. "Is this confirmed?" asked Krell, the Aldarian High Commander. His skin shimmered with blue and green colors as he spoke. "Yes, High Commander," replied his aide. "Our long-range observers recorded the battle. The Zexer fleet was destroyed in less than a minute by previously unknown Earth technology." Krell's colors shifted to a thoughtful purple. The humans were believed to be a level 3 civilization at best, yet they defeated the Zexar, a level 7 power. This changes everything. On Earth, 3 weeks had passed since the battle. Scientists worked day and night studying the captured Zexer ship. Every piece of alien technology was carefully examined and tested. The surviving Zexar, who called himself Vexnar, was kept in a special facility designed for his biology. Lisa Morgan was in charge of communicating with the alien. After many attempts, they had created a basic translation system. Why did the Zexer attack Earth? Lisa asked during one of their sessions. Vexnar's 4 eyes blinked slowly. It is what we do. We find worlds with resources. We take them. But surely peaceful trade would be better for everyone. The alien made a sound like a snort. The Imperium does not trade with lesser species. We conquer. It has always been our way. Lisa made notes on her tablet. How many other civilizations have you conquered? 27. Vexnar replied without hesitation. All level 3 or below. None had your hidden strength. Meanwhile, in the White House, President Russell met with her advisors. The room was filled with new faces, experts in various fields brought in to help plan Earth's next steps. The Zexer database we captured contains star maps, John Carter explained. He pointed to a holographic display showing hundreds of star systems. The red ones are worlds they've already conquered. The yellow are their next targets. And we're in yellow, President Russell noted. We were, John corrected, but now we've proven ourselves to be much stronger than they thought. The question is, what do we do with this information? Before anyone could answer, an aide rushed into the room. Madam President, we're detecting an unknown ship approaching Earth orbit. It's not Zexar. The room went silent. Then General Lee stood up. Activate horizon. President Russell hesitated. No, not yet. Let's see what they want first. The new ship was smaller than the Zexar vessels and had a different design. It made no aggressive moves as it entered orbit. They're sending a transmission. Patricia reported from the UEDF Command Center, audio and visual. Put it through, President Russell ordered. The screen showed a being with shimmering blue-green skin and large, gentle eyes. It spoke, and their translation system worked to convert its words. People of Earth, I am Krell of the Alderian Alliance. We come in peace and friendship. We have watched your brave defense against the Zexar Imperium with great interest. We would like to establish diplomatic relations. President Russell exchanged glances with her advisors before responding. This is President Olivia Russell of Earth. We welcome peaceful contact. May I ask how you learned of our encounter with the Zexar? Krell's skin rippled with colors. The Zexar have been enemies of many civilizations for centuries. We have been watching their movements. When they were defeated by your world, a world they thought defenseless, many took notice. Are there others like you? Other aliens who oppose the Zexar? John asked. Yes, the Alderian Alliance includes 7 species from different worlds. All have suffered under Zexar expansion. Some are still partly under their control. Krell paused. News of your victory has sparked rebellions on 3 Zexar-controlled worlds already. Richard Evans, Earth's newly appointed diplomatic advisor, stepped forward. Would you be willing to meet in person to discuss a possible alliance? That is why we have come, Krell replied. There is much our peoples can learn from each other, and much to prepare for. Prepare for? President Russell asked. The Zexar will return, Krell said simply. They always do. But next time, Earth will not stand alone. 5 years passed. Earth had changed in ways no one could have imagined before the Zexar attack. The once secret Operation Horizon was now known to everyone. The satellites had been modified to provide clean energy to the entire planet. Pollution decreased. Poverty began to fade as energy became free and abundant. But the satellites still had their weapons. In fact, there were more of them now, 200 instead of 50, created with the help of Alderian technology. John Carter, now Admiral Carter, stood on the bridge of Earth's first deep space vessel, the Defender. The ship was enormous, built using a combination of human ingenuity and alien technology from both the Zexar wreckage and Alderian designs. Admiral, we're ready to depart, said his first officer, Lisa Morgan. She had left her science position to join the new Earth space fleet. John nodded and looked at the view screen showing Earth below them. It's hard to believe how far we've come in 5 years. 7 alien civilizations now have diplomatic relations with us, Lisa said. The Alderians, the Mox, the Tellurians. We're not alone anymore. John smiled. And we're not defenseless, either. The Defender was more than an exploration vessel. It carried weapons based on Operation Horizon technology, smaller but still powerful. 20 similar ships were under construction in orbit. Earth was building a fleet. In Washington, D.C., President Russell addressed the United Nations. Her face showed the stress of the past 5 years, but also pride. Today marks the 5th anniversary of what we now call the First Contact Battle, she said. What began as a day of fear has led to a new age for humanity. We have friends among the stars. We have learned much from them, and they from us. Susan Cole sat in the audience. She had won the Nobel Prize for her work adapting alien technology to solve Earth's climate crisis. The quantum energy source she discovered years ago now powered cities around the world. Our greatest achievement, President Russell continued, has been the liberation of 3 worlds previously conquered by the Zexor. Working with the Alderian Alliance, Earth forces helped free the Mox, the Tellurians, and the Jovians from Zexor control. The audience applauded. On screens around the world, people watched with pride. Humans were now known throughout nearby star systems, not as primitive beings, but as powerful allies against oppression. In a secure room beneath the UN building, Richard Evans met with representatives from all 7 alien species now allied with Earth. The room was designed to accommodate different body types, atmospheres, and gravity needs. The intelligence is confirmed, said Krell, the Alderian who had first contacted Earth. His skin was now a worried yellow color. A Zexor remnant force has gathered. They are coming. Richard nodded. How many ships? 500, replied Zala, a Mox representative. Her insect-like features clicked with concern. More than the first fleet. When will they arrive? Richard asked. 3 weeks at current speed, Krell answered. Richard touched a communication panel. Madam President, you need to see this. President Russell excused herself from the UN speech and joined them minutes later. Krell and Zala repeated the information. 500 ships, she said thoughtfully. Are they all heading to Earth? No, Krell explained. They plan to attack all members of our alliance simultaneously. Approximately 100 ships are targeted at Earth. President Russell didn't look worried. Admiral Carter, she called through the communication system. Yes, Madam President. John's voice came through clearly from the Defender. The Zexar are returning. 100 ships, 3 weeks out. There was a moment of silence before John replied. Understood. The fleet will be ready. President Russell turned to the alien representatives. Earth will stand with our allies. We'll coordinate our defense forces. Will your Operation Horizon be enough against so many ships? Asked Zala. President Russell smiled. Operation Horizon was just the beginning. We've learned much in 5 years. She looked out the window at the clear blue sky. This time, we won't need to warn them twice. Across the solar system, Earth's defense grid activated. The 200 satellites moved into position. In orbit, the Earth fleet prepared for battle. On the Moon, special weapon platforms powered up. From Mars to Jupiter, newly built defense stations ran system checks. Earth was no longer the primitive planet the Zexor had tried to conquer. It was the heart of a new alliance, ready to defend freedom across the stars.